Cyberpunk 2077 is easily the most hyped game of 2020. It was probably even the most talked about game in 2019, 2018, maybe even before that. There is so much hype for this game because of the level of detail that's gone into it. Many years of development from CD Projekt Red. But with all of the good things that come to Cyberpunk, there's still some things that fans are not happy about. So in this video, we are going to be going through things that Cyberpunk fans hate about Cyberpunk 2077. If you do want to talk more in depth about this, then I am streaming on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. Currently I'm streaming random games, playing a bit of Red Dead Redemption 2, Red Dead Online, as well as anything else that I can get my hands on right now. Pretty much just killing time up until the point in which Cyberpunk is released, in which we are going to be going absolutely hard in this game with possibly daily videos as well as daily streams. So if you do want to be a part of that, there is a link in the description down below which will take you over to the Twitch stream. Head over to there, drop a follow, and you'll be notified the second these Cyberpunk streams go live. Getting back into the video, the first thing and probably the most obvious thing we should talk about is the two major delays that we've had with Cyberpunk 2077. Originally, Cyberpunk 2077 was scheduled to be released in April 2020, but was delayed until September to allow more time for playtesting, fixing and polishing of the game. It was then delayed again, pushing it till November 19th, which is the date that it still remains at. And this time it was delayed due to balancing game mechanics and being able to fix as many bugs as possible before release. Now CD Projekt Red have already confirmed, and they're even going as far as doing crunch time for the employees to make sure that it doesn't get delayed a third time. Which means for those that absolutely hate delays, this isn't going to be much of a problem anymore, because CD Projekt Red are confident that it will be released in November. They've reiterated this by doing financial meetings and releasing videos, talking about what's going to happen within the next quarter. They've now gone as far as releasing ads on TV for the release of Cyberpunk. There seems to be a lot more confidence back in it, so you don't have to worry about there being another delay. And for the majority of the fan base, when these delays first took place from April to September, and then finally from September to November, most were saying that a delayed game does equal a good game in the end. So fans were optimistic, but for those that actually pre-ordered it, put money into it for April, hoping to be playing in April, and then for it to be pushed back to September, and then from September to November, it definitely irritated those types of players. The next thing that irritates fans is no multiplayer. This has actually resulted in a lot of confusion. Here on the channel, we even had to do a completely separate video talking about multiplayer just to clear everything up. And we can actually blame news articles for this. Multiplayer is actually something within the works, but it's not actually coming to Cyberpunk 2077. In fact, it's a completely separate AAA project which is due to release, actually it is penciled into release in 2022. When CD Projekt Red first talked about Cyberpunk multiplayer, many players believed, and I should add, many news articles even led viewers to believe, that multiplayer would be an add-on to the single player sometime in the future. Very similar to what GTA 5 had and also Red Dead Redemption 2, where both games are single player games. They were released, and then 1 month later the online versions of those games were released to the public. This will not be happening. Cyberpunk 2077 is a single player game and will stay that way with future single player DLC. There is no multiplayer coming to Cyberpunk 2077, but in the future there will be a multiplayer version of Cyberpunk which will be a completely separate game. Which also means that because it's a separate game, depending how CD Projekt Red monetize this game, you might have to pay full price for a separate game which is actually based within the exact same world. As said, if you do want to have more information about this, I have already done a video. Link to that will be in the description down below, as well as there'll be a card on screen right now which you can click and it'll take you directly to that video. It has confused a lot of players and there's a lot of misinformation out there which has led to even further confusion. The next thing that disappoints a lot of fans, and I actually full within this category is the stuff that you can do with vehicles. Unfortunately, there is no vehicle customization and there is no flying cars. Vehicle customization was actually planned, but had to be cut due to time constraints. Now what you're able to buy is technically customized vehicles with what they actually planned to put in place, but unfortunately couldn't, so they've had to iterate that design to have custom vehicles within the game, so you can buy into them, but you can't actually customize them yourself. It means within the game there is some very nice and unique vehicles, being bikes and also cars, but not actually vehicles that is unique to me. Not where I've gone in and I've changed the wheel colors or the wheel rims, or being able to change the color of the car, being able to tint the windows, or maybe even put some neon wiring on the outside. I've not been able to do that. It's what CD Projekt Red have already done, and I'm just buying into that. Flying vehicles is also another very disappointing factor. We see them everywhere within the world and you can actually ride within them, except it's only mainly missions, story elements in which CD Projekt Red would say. We see this as part of the introduction for the Corp life path, when V travels to Lizzie's bar to meet Jackie. V rides a flying Arasaka vehicle to the bar and lands on a basketball court, but unfortunately you can't buy this vehicle and you can't ride around freely. You can only be a passenger when it's for missions, and there may be an element in which you can be part of these Arasaka vehicles if there's a fast travel element. We know that fast travel is going to come, but it hasn't been broken down in exactly how it's going to work. So this definitely disappoints a lot of fans, especially the fact that vehicle customization was in, but it had to be taken out. I'm someone that's not too bothered about flying vehicles. It would have been nice to see the Cyberpunk world, Night City in a different view, but I'm actually not too bothered about that. Vehicle customization is something that I can have a lot of fun with, playing around with, making a vehicle that looks incredibly nice for me to then be able to take a picture and then share it to all friends, even social media, maybe even some of you guys. But that is no longer doable. The next thing that is heavily talked about is third person. Third person is not within the game. You play as V within first person. We've spoke about this on the channel and why first person is a must, but that doesn't stop players being upset that it doesn't exist. The biggest complaint is that you can customize your character at the beginning and then you're forced to go into first person and you can't see your character. You also have the option to drive a vehicle in first person or third person, but the second you get out that car, you're straight back into playing in first person view with V. The reason that there isn't a third person mode is because CD Projekt Red have said the engine was built for first person from the ground up. There's situations where you'll be talking to an NPC and then another NPC will interrupt and you have the option to look at that NPC or completely ignore him, both of which will open up more dialogue. This wouldn't be quite the same if it was in third person, because you would then be able to look wherever it is you want to look with the third person camera, see who's actually interrupted you without actually having to look at them as V. You can still see your character in menus and reflections. As this is an RPG game, you're able to go into the menus and you'll see a skill tree, you're able to change your clothing as well as your weapon loadout. Every time you go into here, you will see your character right there. And personally for me, I'm not actually too bothered that there is no third person. Would I prefer to have third person? Yeah, but I understand that this game is not suited for third person, and I can still have a lot of fun with a first person view. For other players, this is incredibly disappointing, and they've even said that they're not even gonna bother with their character customization, as they're never gonna go and see their character. And then the final thing that Cyberpunk players absolutely hate about Cyberpunk is no property customization. This is very similar to vehicle customization. Players like customizing their own things, making it unique to them, and then being able to show that off. Properties unfortunately were never planned to be customized, but what was planned was multiple properties in which V can own, each with a different style in a different location, but this was cut from the game due to time constraints. Many players wanted this in the game, and when this information first came out about multiple properties, many players were very excited. But this just led to major disappointment across the Cyberpunk community when CD Projekt Red decided to take it out. Many players since have been talking about future updates which bring properties to the game, so you can actually buy the properties in the district that you actually want to belong to. This is very similar to flying vehicles and vehicle customization. Players also want there to be future updates for that. If it was cut due to time constraints, which has what's been said so far, then by taking it out for a full release of Cyberpunk 2077 and then pushing it as an update later on, surely would give them enough time. This is an argument that's been thrown around a lot, but with this, the only thing that we can do is just wait. Wait until we get confirmation from CD Projekt Red themselves about the future updates that will be coming. But these are the things that I've seen thrown around a lot that Cyberpunk players are just not liking about Cyberpunk. Despite these not being within the game, I still think Cyberpunk 2077 is gonna be an amazing game. I'm still incredibly hyped for it. With this massive game, I'm sure CD Projekt Red have done things or maybe even cut things that you're not happy about. So let me know in the comment section down below. If you do want to talk more in depth about this topic, then there is a link in the description down below which will take you over to the Twitch stream. Head over to there, drop a follow, and you'll be notified the next time I go live. But anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did enjoy, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. But for now, I'm going. So see you.